We're really fancy.
Oh my gosh. If anyone is sitting there waiting for us, sorry about the technical difficulties. I was blaming John the whole time, and it turned out to be on my end. My fault. My microphone wasn't working. So
Oh, we're back.
we're back. So
We're,
you had a crazy week with hurricanes, huh?
yeah, it's. I mean, fortunately, our house was fine, but a lot of work. Like I told you, I had about 15 hours of work over the weekend to get all the crap out of my yard. But and then washed and waxed some cars today to kind of get a sense of how they were. My car got a couple of dings from tree branches falling and hitting it, but I mean, what are you going to do? It's
Yeah.
a tiny
How
little
much
bit of
rain
damage.
did you get in Greenville?
I thought I saw a report. It hadn't stopped yet, but it was something like 10 or 11 inches in a short period of time. And I think
Okay.
the mountains got 2 to 3 feet in a short period of time. Plus, they had rain days before. So, we don't. Greenville's a mess, but it's nothing like Western North Carolina and Asheville.
Okay.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I've just seen the photos. It's amazing.
Can't imagine they're going to build that back anytime soon. Asheville will get back running to some degree, but those little towns, I don't know.
Yeah, just getting to the roads open is going to take months.
Right, and I'm just trying to think about going through whatever they have to go through, planning commissions or whatever.
Yeah.
Trying to build a road today. Oh my gosh, the people, the government groups that you got to go through to get stuff approved. Unless they fast track this, I don't know.
They might be able to, kind of like they did the Twin Towers.
Might be
12 years, was it?
Yeah, fast track. There you go. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know what's going to happen. And it's just terrible. And of course, we have no idea how many people died. I originally was thinking it was going to be thousands, and then the news media was kind of downplaying it. I still think it's going to be thousands. Unfortunately, there's people all over the mountains that had nobody knew this was coming.
Right.
I went to bed the night before, and I remember they were talking about this. And I think right before I went to bed, I remember kind of tracking this a little bit, and they're saying kind of how it was going to come through Georgia and come through, up through Greenville into the mountains. And I'm thinking, well, we've had lots of hurricanes kind of come through here. People always, text me, hey, how you doing with that hurricane? I'm like, we're 3.5 hours from the ocean. I think we're like 6 or 7 hours from the Gulf of Mexico, maybe 8 hours from the Gulf. So to think that a hurricane's going to have any kind of impact up here, it's just some rain. Who cares? So I went to bed and they said it was Category 1, and then they said it's getting upgraded to Category 4. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting as it comes to shore. Not thinking, still, Category 4, I'm like 8 hours away.
Right. You're going to get rain. You're going to get wet.
Rain. But who cares? Right? Just disaster.
Yeah. And they had to open up the dam ahead of time, right, to let that pressure out.
I'm sure there was probably a few dams they had to let go. Otherwise, it would have been,
Yeah, you lose a dam, you're done. I mean, but you were done anyhow.
Biblical times 10.
Yeah.
It's already biblical.
That's crazy.
Had those dams gone, holy cow. And so then I was trying to figure out.
And where are all the mobile homes? Didn't Bush get in trouble for not having all the mobile homes ready?
Yeah. There's been none of that pushback. None of that pushback. And then the other thing is I remember, so Saturday morning, so the interesting thing is Friday morning. So we woke up and it was just craziness, right? We woke up. I had planned for a number of weeks. We were going to be heading to Pennsylvania to visit my daughter and her husband and our grandson. And so that was Friday morning. We're getting ready to leave. And of course, the hurricane had hit. We got up at 6 a.m. We're planning to leave. I'm like, let's get on the road at 7 o'clock. I think it was probably 6:45. The power went out. And my one son was going to go with us. He was up already because we were trying to leave at 7. We're trying to figure this out. The wind is blowing like crazy. Huge branch comes down on our screen porch and scares us because it was a loud thud. And we're like, we have this gigantic tree in our backyard. At some point, I'll have to show it to you. I had a quote 5 years ago. What was it going to cost to get that tree out of our backyard? At the time, it was about $7,500. I'm sure it's like 10, 11, 12 grand today. But I'm like, oh, I hope that thing doesn't come down. So anyway, it was craziness, and we left our son Patrick at home. We finally left at about 9:45 after The winds had finally started to die down. We no longer felt like our trees are about to fall on our house, because I didn't want to leave if a tree fell on our house. And we live in a nice neighborhood. It took us 25 minutes to get out of our neighborhood because every exit we tried to go was blocked by trees down in the street. And so finally we were able to figure out a way to get out and get on the road. And then even once we got on I-85, which goes to Charlotte, there were several times there were stoppages because trees had fallen on the interstate and crews were trying to get the trees off the interstate. But it's nuts. Absolutely nuts. So.
And now we got another one heading right to Florida, huh?
Another one
east.
So another thing I'll just say, right? Because you and I think alike politically. We don't get into stuff too much, but we one of the great things about living in Greenville, okay, is they have all these transfer stations. That's essentially paid for by our tax dollars. So whereas like in Minnesota when I lived there, you can't really go and dump anything. Mm-hmm. You got to go to a dump somewhere, and you got to pay a fair amount of money to get rid of it, right? Or you can go to Hennepin County Transfer Station where they're super rigorous on what goes where, but you can't just show up with like anything, right? You can't go to Hennepin County Transfer Station in Brooklyn Park and show up with all kinds of stuff, right?
I'm a marked man there at Hennepin County. Because like you list a house and you got to get rid of some paint cans before closing that the seller left. So I'm always dropping stuff off there, and then with the rental properties, and they're like, you can only do 6 cans a year. Like, you're tracking me now? It's like, God, that's like I'm doing like 20 cans on every listing I got.
So imagine showing up with a flat screen TV, an old toilet, a dishwasher, a washing machine, a mattress, paint, and oil. What would their heads would explode at Hennepin County Transfer Station?
$15 for the mattress, $15 for the TV, and I think $10 for the mattress. And the oil, you can go, I don't know, something like 5 gallons or something.
Got it. Interesting. So we can bring all that stuff. They got places that, it's all kind of self-directed. Like, hey, if you got oil, go over here. Throw your TV in here. Throw your washing machine over here. So we're kind of on our own, but it's great. Don't pay for anything. You just go and you dump it all that stuff. So anyway, you can imagine with all this brush that trees down everybody has. So Greenville County came out and said, no, because I was trying to figure out what to do with all this stuff. I was just going to throw it in my backyard and just light it, just blow it up, right? But they came out and said, no burning. Right, there's a no burning temporary ordinance because
that's a real fire hazard with 10 inches of rain and flooding everywhere.
The skies would be black, right? If everyone started lighting up all their debris in their yard. So I was like, oh shoot, well that's out. And then they said, well, they've hired a company. They're going to eventually come through and pick everything up. So people just pushed all stuff out to the edge of their grass into the street. So you're kind of driving around all this stuff because it's all pushed out there. I mean, who knows when these guys are going to show up? So I finally decided on Friday it was a little slow. I was like, I'm just going to go and just start hauling this stuff out. So I start hauling it out. I show up and it's a different operation. All of a sudden, I'm like, hey, what's going on? They got this little tent and they got young people there and they got their phones and their iPads and all this stuff. Say hi to investing folks. He just chimed in there. So I'm asking these people, I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, is FEMA here? And like, yeah, we're FEMA. We've been hired a temporary from FEMA. And so what they did is they took every vehicle, they took your driver's license, they entered your address, they took a picture of your driver's license, they took a picture of your load, and then they let you go in and dump. So they backed all this stuff up, right? They tried to control it, where we were going to go dump it at the dump, all this stuff. So FEMA's involved there in Greenville, which is ridiculous. Then I asked them, I said, well, what's the deal? I said, is Greenville County getting reimbursed for every load people drop? They're like, yeah, basically. So I said, well, I'll be back here several more times. I mean, I think I went there 6 or 7 times. I don't know if I'm going to get a special letter from FEMA for how many times I showed up there. I have no idea. But I guarantee I'm in their database.
It'll be a loan, right?
Yeah, it'll be a loan. No, they send me the bill. They'll send me the bill for dumping 8 loads of the tree brush that I had. But anyway, and then the other weird thing I was telling you is that when it was storming on Friday, I noticed the rain was dirty. It was dirty. It was crazy. I'm like, I'm
Like
like,
mud water coming down,
yeah,
or like leaving dirt on their car?
well, dirt on the car and like dirt. I mean, because of the wind, we had a lot of wind come in against the house into our screen porch. So our screen porch, like all the furniture, everything is just covered with a coat of dirt. Just and it was just raining so hard and windy. So I don't quite understand storm dynamics. If somehow all this dirt got sucked up into the storm, and it just got dumped on places. I have no idea, but
I
stuff
have
was
no idea.
normally on that kind of a heavy rain. It's like, oh, the car's clean. It's like it just obliterated everything on the car. It's like I can go out there with a rag and wipe it down. Looks like I just washed it, but not this time. Not this time. So.
Okay. So it's
Anyway.
going to wreak havoc on the real estate market. I mean, Florida
Oh,
got hit hard.
oh,
I've talking to friends down there.
oh,
She's
forget about it. Yeah,
yeah,
forget
she's
about
like,
it.
I'm
Right.
selling. I'm done.
Yeah,
This is 4 out of 5 years I've been hit.
Florida, forget about it. I mean, so I was thinking about this today. It's like Greenville might be the next best city to move to if you're in Florida. Now, I don't want all these people coming to Greenville.
Yeah.
If that many people come to Greenville, I might have to get back into real estate and sell them something. But
We don't want that.
we don't want that. I really don't want that, right? But they don't want to go to Atlanta, right? There's some spots maybe in Georgia. The mountains of Georgia are awesome. I'm not sure now after this hurricane what people do. You know, I used to think, hey, well, if I get out of Greenville, I'll move to the mountains, North Carolina, and because it's beautiful up there. But now it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know about that anymore. I'm not quite so sure, right? Even though it might have been, it was 1,000-year storm supposedly. But here's the thing, like Florida, Tampa's supposed to get hit this week, right? Some freak storm coming out of the elbow in where Yucatan Peninsula or something. Like, where'd that come from? Have you ever seen that before?
It sounds like that's never happened that meteorologists are aware of. I mean, I'm sure it's probably happened, but as far as recent history that we track, no.
Yeah, remember, we're tracking climate change, though. We know all the stuff going back gazillions of years, so I'm sure we know if a storm came out of the Yucatan Peninsula, but apparently that's never happened before. So it's going right to Tampa. I don't know what Tampa did, but they're going to get blasted again.
It's like huge. It's going to cover all of Florida.
Right.
It's going to cover all. So Florida's biggest insurer cuts over 600,000 policies.
Yeah.
That was the headline. I sent that to you.
Yeah.
But that company is Citizens Property Insurance, and it sounds like that was created by Florida legislatures back in whenever.
They're going to have a huge problem. I don't know what they're going to do. My guess is you're going to end up having to do a like an Obamacare type system where the government just runs all the insurance in Florida.
Okay, so Citizens Property Insurance Corporation was created in 2002 from the merger of two other entities to provide windstorm coverage and general property insurance for homeowners who could not obtain insurance elsewhere. It was established by the Florida legislature, nonprofit insurer of last resort, headquartered in Tallahassee. So they're bailing.
So let me ask you this. What is the role of government? What's the role of government in this? Do we have any ideas? I mean, I guess if I'm looking at it, if I'm working for the government and I'm representative of the government and I want people to still live in the state of Florida, I think probably the number one priority for that government is going to be provide insurance for people who own real estate in Florida.
If you can't insure real estate, right? If you can't get homeowners insurance, you're not going to be able to get lenders to lend on that, and your property values are just going to be cash buyers.
Correct. It needs to take the priority over any other kind of welfare program that they have or schools, period.
Yep.
If you don't have people who can buy homes with mortgages, unless all you want is people in Florida with cash, and even those with cash don't necessarily want to self-insure. Right.
Well, California ran into a similar situation with the wildfires, and who's their governor out there?
Nuisance.
Yeah, so he did some sort of moratorium that the insurance companies can't bail for whatever period of time. So I don't know. I mean, that doesn't sound like the right response either. But there's got to be some sort of stopgap measure. I mean, do you allow something like Medishare model, where people can self-insure, create groups?
But here's the thing. You'd have to be willing do you want to be party to others? Healthcare is bad enough, and it is bad. It's terrible, right? But the insurance world in Florida, I don't know that I necessarily want to join some kind of, communal group that says we're all going to self-insure. Basically, you're self-insuring. The group gets together, you get 2-3 million people, and you all say, okay, we're going to pay whatever prorate, whatever the value of your house is. You pay $10,000 a year for every $250,000 house you have, and hope that covers it.
Do you remember talking to Schwain? He just commented here. I just put this on there. Have you ever seen anything like this in your years of real estate? The insurance issues?
No.
Nowhere even close.
No. And also, by the way, which we don't have as one of our articles, but Zillow, I think you have to pay for this. Zillow is doing climate change ratings on homes now. And I'm just thinking if that becomes public, right? So I don't know, for example, like I haven't checked it out yet to go see if I can look up my house and see what a Zillow think my climate change rating is, right? If that would affect the value of my house. But I guarantee it will affect the value of your house. If the American public think that climate change is a big issue,
and
more importantly, if insurers think it's a big issue, and if Zillow gets traction on saying, okay, we now have a climate model, and here's the ratio and the implications for your particular piece of property, they're damaging your property, by the way. And they're using some kind of algorithm, some information that they're putting in there to try to create their climate model. Who's to say that their climate model is correct? It's
so Edina Mortgage, they're doing something with like credit score. They find if you got a higher credit score, you have less claims.
Sure.
Oh, who would have thought there was a correlation there?
Right. Yeah. Well,
so they're using that. They're starting to use that as far as ranking insurance on housing. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, but it's also topsy-turvy now. I mean, it's just it's unbelievable, all this stuff that's going on. And then the other thing is just we had an insurance claim on our house. We had hail damage on our house. I think the roof repair was like $23,000. I'm sure if I had gone to the open market to get that done, it would not have been $23,000. But because it was insurance, it was $23,000. I'm going to guess maybe it would have been, I don't know, 16, 17,000 probably. Right. So it's overinflated by 5 or 6, 7,000.
Probably more like 50%.
20, maybe, but I don't think I could have gotten mine for 12. But that's 30%, 35% inflated, just because it's storm related.
I did 2 roofs, just your typical 3-bedroom Ramblers, 1950s Ramblers. They were under 10 grand each.
Yep.
One level.
Yeah. No, that's pretty straightforward. But Florida, I don't. So if this storm hits Tampa, I mean, what do you do?
Yeah, well, Schwain's the fault here. That's why insurance is going up, because he paid $34,000 from the insurance company to have his roof redone from hail damage.
What? Well, you must live in like a 12,000 square foot house, man.
You're the reason we can't have anything nice.
You can get siding and gutters done for that.
Yeah. Foot massage.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. It's just more claims beget more claims, beget more premiums. It's I don't know. It's crazy. But who would have thought that insurance, you need to be thinking about insurance now when you buy a house?
That's a huge deal. That's going to be a problem going forward.
Yeah. Big problem. Big problem for investors as well.
Yeah. So I don't know. That Florida market's going to get hit hard. There's going to be lots of ups and downs. There's probably some opportunities to buy there. But I think, I don't know, maybe someone like the what is that?
Blackstone, BlackRock.
No, it's we got to come up with a different name. But one of those companies that has that those kind of resources, they could self-insure and they don't need to carry the notes on it. So it's set up prime for just to grab lots of property for some player like that.
So what's going to happen for example, like in North Carolina, where my sense is a lot of those people won't be able to rebuild for whatever reason. The infrastructure is not coming in. Some of those people might be really determined because they just don't want to live in regular society. They want to live in the mountains. They'll figure it out. But if insurance comes in and says, okay, we'll give you $250,000 for your house to rebuild, I'm just trying to think, because this is being on such a scale. I'm just trying to think, do you just forego that? Do you just say, hey, I don't want to rebuild here? Can you do that?
I think you can take the insurance payout and not rebuild, because I'm going to think that a lot of these insurance they're not going to have enough in there to rebuild, right? They're underinsured for what it costs to rebuild. So they take the payout amount and they can't rebuild for what they get. So then what do? Walk away, or the mortgage company will take it?
Well, they owe if they owe a mortgage, right, then they got to pay the mortgage off. Yeah. And then I guess just sell the land if there's land that's there hasn't washed away. I mean, it's still there, I guess, right? But whatever it's worth.
Yeah, but what took me back is you said the scale of this. Let's say this other hurricane takes out another huge chunk of Florida and the coast there. Now we're talking scale on these insurance companies. Does this rival like when Lehman Brothers collapsed and the mortgage meltdown? I mean, is this along those numbers that could knock out the whole insurance industry?
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know how big that is.
I don't know either. And I know there used to be a lot of other huge earthquake or hurricanes and stuff. I think a lot of that happened during George Bush. And so you always heard all the numbers, colossal damage and stuff like that. You don't really hear that anymore for whatever reason. I'm not quite sure exactly why they don't they don't want to say what's going on. But, it's gigantic. But even just for mentally, right? If you've been blasted a few times now in Florida and you get hit again, is the Florida lifestyle that great that you want to stay and try to do this again? I don't know.
I
don't live in Florida, so I don't know. Maybe it's worth it.
Do you remember the movie The World According to Garp?
Yeah.
What was his name again?
Robin Williams.
Yep. So they're standing in front of the house, right? This young couple going to buy their first house. And you see this plane sputtering off in the distance, and then kind of you hear the engine sputtering, and it cuts out, and then it starts diving down, and then they have to duck, and this plane crashes into the house they're looking at with their realtor. And then the first thing he says, "We'll take it. It's been pre-disastered." Right? I mean, what are the odds of it happening again?
Exactly. Oh my gosh. So speaking of planes and all that stuff, so back to the hurricane real quick. So I remember Saturday morning, so after things had kind of calmed down a little bit, we were starting to see stuff on Twitter, like just how bad it was. And I can't remember thinking, like, why are there not hundreds of helicopters in the air right now to go try to find these people and get these people? It was just unbelievable. It's still, I mean, it's gonna be difficult for us down here for some time. It's gonna have an impact. I mean, Asheville's an hour and 15 minutes away. It's beautiful. Lots of Airbnbs. I know we were going to talk about that for a second, but Asheville has a lot of Airbnbs, and I don't really have any sense yet of what the damage is up there in Asheville, other than we've seen a lot of probably the same videos and stuff that people are putting up there on Twitter. But I don't know how broad it is or how many of these properties have been hit. But the other issue is, other than rescue people who are maybe booking these now to stay in, right, so they can do their work up there, is your average Joe and Jane going to book an Airbnb in Asheville anytime soon? So what's that going to be like for these folks who own these things? I got to believe it's going to be kind of grim.
Unless there's money to rebuild, and then they've got all the workers that have to go up there to rebuild.
Right. So then you got construction people that need a place to stay, and so they rent it. That's possible because they're going to need housing, because I know the hotels have been filling up. So they'll need that. But man, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But even just speaking of Airbnb stuff, just even with, so I hear things like who was on CNBC on Friday, the jobs report came out, and it blew everybody away, 240,000.
Before we jump into the jobs, I looked up that Airbnb tracker.
Yeah.
I'm going to share this. They have Asheville.
Okay.
So I haven't looked at this data before, but let's see if I can.
Yeah, we
present
found
that.
this a couple of weeks ago. Pretty cool site.
Yeah, but I didn't realize they covered Asheville. I thought that was too small of a market. Okay, can you see that?
Yep, pretty big from Airbnb standpoint.
Okay, so what is that? 3,000,
So 3,000.
89.5% are the entire house.
Okay.
Activity. 180 a night, 19,000 average income.
What's the big spike? What's the big line there? What is that?
Occupancy.
Occupancy.
Last 12 months. So
Very
those must
high.
be days. Yeah, so high occupancy.
Interesting. Okay. So maybe it's become a hot little Airbnb market.
Yeah.
Short-term rentals.
Long-term rentals.
What's listings per host? Most have one, but a couple of them have 100. Is that 10? No, that's 10.
Yeah, over 10. 464 have over 10 units.
Got it.
Most of them, the mode will have 1 unit.
Yep.
And then these are the host names. So like LLCs and stuff.
Yep.
I don't recognize any of them. Doesn't look like a big player.
Yeah, interesting. That's a
Well,
lot of houses.
how big is Asheville?
I don't know. Let's do a quick search. Population. 93,000 in Asheville, but let's look at the Asheville metro. 417,000 in the greater metro.
Okay, and now let's compare this to, well, you can go different zip codes too.
Could go to Nashville.
How do I switch that city again?
Is it data?
Explore the data, get the data down, explore somewhere, browse all cities. Here we go, North America.
Nashville. Look at Nashville.
Okay, how big is Nashville population-wise?
It's Nashville metro, I think, is like 2 million.
Okay, so if you take, what is it? We'll call it 9,000 divided by 2 million.
Yeah, Nashville metropolitan area is 2 million.
Okay, that's basically 0.5%.
City of Nashville, 692,000.
Okay.
So it's 10x.
Or bigger than that.
Well, 10x for the city, but
for the region.
With the metro's 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
So they only have 89. That's what you're saying? So Asheville has a pretty high concentration of Airbnbs.
Yes.
Asheville. Yep.
Very high.
Yeah.
Because I think the Twin Cities has
like nothing.
Right. I mean, so if there is an Airbnb crash, Minneapolis, St. Paul, I don't think is going to even feel it.
Yeah, Twin Cities metro population is 3.7 million.
Yeah, we have 4,800. So we have 3 point how many?
Yeah, 3.7 million. You got
and only 4,850.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, so if every Airbnb went on the market today, it wouldn't even change our market time.
No, that's nothing.
No,
that's amazing. But then again, it is Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Who wants to visit there, right?
Who wants to come up and visit? There are a couple of good months, but other than that,
I'm trying to find a Florida market.
Florida, how Broward County, right above you. Go Broward County.
Okay.
17,000. Wow. We'll see how big Broward County is. $1.95 million. 2 million. So Broward County is as big as Nashville Metro.
Okay.
Wow.
That's a lot of Airbnbs.
Holy cow.
I would suspect with that
Dang,
population, if a lot of Airbnbs hit the market, that's going to change the market.
that's a lot. It's a lot, but not, like let's go to let me look at homes for sale, Broward County. Zillow. What does Zillow say? Zillow has 14,899 homes for sale right now in Broward County.
So Airbnb could double that market.
Yeah, if every one of them hit.
Inventory. Yep.
Yeah.
If everyone sold at once.
Yeah.
Like if they couldn't get homeowners insurance.
And we don't know, like, of those Airbnbs, does it show? Doesn't really show if it's single family or if it's condo, does it?
No.
Okay. I would think it's a fair amount of condos, but I could be wrong. So, and those are problematic, right? In those older buildings, I think a lot of those are going to get torn down.
Yes, that's another huge issue.
Huge issue.
Okay, so now back to the jobs report.
The jobs report. Okay, so I was watching CNBC. Carl Quintanilla said that this. Don't quote me. I'm going to try to remember exactly what he said, but that this might be the best market in 35 years. Now, he's a total shill for the Democrats. I will just tell you that straight up. Big Kamala. I don't know. Sorry. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Big fan of hers, right? 35 years, best market on the planet. I'm not sure. I do a lot of work in the commercial real estate world. There's like retailers closing right and left. Like literally there's a gazillion square feet that's coming on the market because of big box retailers and other kinds of retailers that have given up the ghost. There's office buildings that are basically vacant. There are, what else do I hear?
Building permits are down.
Building permits are down. As I talk to people, business is definitely slower. McDonald's has changed their menu to try
real estate transactions. Residential real estate transactions are to 2007 levels.
Right.
2008 levels.
Construction levels down. The only place that's booming, of course, is government jobs. Right. So if you go to work for the government or healthcare, which is effectively a government job now, and education as well, a government job. If you're in those three sectors, life is good. In fact, I just drove through DC, first time ever really driving through it. And I couldn't help but think, this was just this past week, I was like, there are a lot of people that live off of the beast of the federal government. There are a lot of people that depend on that $7 trillion a year. It's not just Zelensky and Israel. It's, there's a lot of Americans living off of that government.
Yeah, I can't get my head around velocity, right? So you earn, let's say, $50,000, and you're going to pay, easy math, 20% of that, right? So 10 grand's going off into taxes.
Yeah.
Okay, but then you spend the other 40 grand, right?
Yeah.
And corporations, businesses, employees make that money. So that 40 grand then gets taxed 20%. And then what's left over, that gets taxed 20. So all of it theoretically at velocity goes all the way back to the IRS at the end of the year.
Yeah, somebody did the calculations on it. I forget. It was something like about 65 or 66% of every dollar is taxed. So because
that's just your tax.
Yeah, right? I can't remember. I wish I had saved the way that they explained it. When you think about it, you get taxed, then you go buy something. You're paying
a sales tax.
But now tax.
The leftover that's not taxed, right? So let's just say it's 60. That 40% then is someone else's income that then gets taxed 60%.
Correct, right? So I was thinking like the payroll taxes and all the other stuff like these businesses have to pay.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's incredible. I mean, the people, I remember thinking about 10 years ago, and it might have been after the crash in 08 or 09, and just realizing like, man, I really was a dummy, wasn't I? It's like, I should have gone to work for the government. Who would have known? Who would have known to go work for the federal government? Or
even the local government.
Any level of government would have been such an unbelievable, secure, and well-paying job and pensions.
Yeah, I had a couple of buddies that returned from Desert Storm, and I'm getting into real estate, right? And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, this is a way to go. Self-employed,
Yeah.
and create your own future. Lots of money, right? Going to make a lot of money in real estate. And so these two guys, they went to work for the Minneapolis Fire Department. They retired like
Smart.
15 years later.
Smart.
Full pension.
Yeah.
And then had the capital to invest in real estate.
Yeah.
It's like, what was I thinking?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. And now, if you look at the payrolls, like in California and stuff, I think some of those firemen make 3, 4, 5, 600,000 a year.
Yeah.
It might be fire chiefs. You might have to get the fire chief level, but that's still $600K, and then you got the pensions.
Yeah.
Do people still really want to pay for that? I was listening to somebody, they were talking about, I think, and I don't know if this is a real number or not. They said like the average federal government job pays $175,000 a year. I don't know if it does or not, right? We know that they get paid well, but
probably with benefits, if you include that in the package.
Right. There's sick time and all other stuff. Think about how many hours the average worker has to work to pay enough tax to pay for one federal employee.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling, and then back to real estate. I go through, I'm looking through all these permits and all this stuff, and people go, why is it so expensive to build? Do all this stuff. I said, and I might do a little video on it. I'll just take the data. It's public data, right? So I think I could screenshot it and do a little video on it and say, people want to know why it costs so much money to build.
Yeah.
I could just go through and show the permit and this approval, this group, this, all this other stuff, all these other meetings. It's incredible the amount of work. And the one thing that's interesting is I would say that it's not really, is it that much harder to build, say, a $75 or $100 million project than it is a $2 million project? Maybe not. Maybe a little bit more, but not exponentially more. So a lot of guys are building smaller projects. It's not the big giant projects, but there's just a lot of, for better or worse. Today in America, we build pretty awesome construction, but it's expensive.
Yeah.
If you're building a commercial property today, there's a lot of hoops you got to jump through, but it's generally a pretty phenomenal building when it's done,
Right. That we tear down in 30 years and rebuild.
That we tear down in 30 years. Yeah. Useful life is gone.
Yeah.
So, but we were
so back to the jobs report, right?
Back to the jobs report.
254,000 jobs.
Yeah.
It's like $140,000 over the estimates.
Out of nowhere, right? And they've been revising down for every single month. The last
revision months. For 2024 was they revised downwards 818,000.
Just a slight adjustment,
Right. So then you question if any of these numbers are ever accurate.
Yeah. So here's the other thing. I remember chatting with somebody a little bit because I made some snarky comment on LinkedIn, and somebody had chastised me a little bit and said, these people at BLS work very hard to come up with these numbers, and I'm sure that they do. Do you know what the budget for BLS? The last time I could see a budget for BLS, do you have any idea what the budget for BLS is?
No clue. I'm not sure.
Come on, give me a guess. Throw a dart on the board. What do you think?
Oh my God.
BLS. All they do is count jobs.
100 million.
600 million. 600 million. That's the last number. I'm not misspeaking. Budget for what's it called? BLS.
Yeah, Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Labor jobs, federal government. Let's see. Bureau of Labor Statistics, including advances and reimbursements to state, federal, and local agencies. So somehow they are also part of the money laundering that happens in Washington, D.C. So they money launder $673 million, not to exceed, together with not to exceed 68 million, which may be expended from the Employment Security Administration. I'm not sure how, it's government, right? So it's all funny numbers. But they got a budget of 673 million according to the Google AI.
Okay.
So we will take that as fact. 673 million.
You
And
can't argue with fake intelligence now, right?
I mean, just it's just so. But the problem is, okay, so now the world reacts
Yep. Bond market
to
reacted, and
to
then mortgage rates shot up to 6.5.
254,000 or whatever. We all know that it's garbage, but now the whole business world is like, did the Fed drop rates too much? Did they make
Yeah.
a mistake and all this stuff? No one's bothering to think, hey, by the way, BLS, the last time they just did a revision, it was 800,000 less.
Exactly.
So we can probably assume this 250 number is probably off by something like 50 to 100,000.
Yeah.
Maybe 120.
Yeah. It's going to be revised down. I can't see it any other way.
Yeah.
You know, but who knows? I mean, maybe people are taking 2 jobs now, 3 jobs, because it's jobs. It's not people.
There is that. There is definitely that. I think it's the most number of people working multiple jobs in recorded history right now.
Times are tough.
Because people need, the booming economy that they say is just ripping. It's ripping for the top probably 5%.
Well, it probably is from a GDP perspective, right? Because of the inflation. So it looks like the numbers are going way up, but it's not. It's just the value of the dollar's dropped.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know.
Do you know who Ryan Pineda is?
I know the name. I can't quite place that person right now.
Yeah. Brandon Turner, and he did an interview, and I didn't watch the whole thing, but basically they're saying rentals don't work now for retirement.
The rentals don't work?
Yeah.
Why are they saying costs are getting too high, or what? Just the operating
costs? Yeah. So I kind of screened through it pretty fast, and basically their argument is $200 a month cash flow. You get 1 repair expense, and it wipes you out. Okay, so now they're switching the tunes to say focus in on earning income, get really skilled at whatever thing you do, and make high income. Then when you get that high income, then you can invest in real estate to build for long-term wealth. And I'm like, okay, that's just kind of, yeah. And the reason I bring that up is Dion Talk Financial Freedom. I don't know if you've ever seen his stuff.
I don't think so.
He did a little short video here yesterday or the day before, and he did the mode of Gen X, right? So Gen X, I think, is what, 1965 to 75 born, that age group.
Like that.
Yeah. And then, so 48% of them, that's the mode, the most number, how much they have saved for retirement right now.
Okay.
Guess how much?
Couple $100,000?
0.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yep. The sandwich generation, right? They got the kids living with them still, and we got the parents taking care of the parents. So we're stuck basically trying to take care of both ends of the spectrum. We're in our 50s and don't have enough money for retirement. So that's why it struck me out is don't buy rentals for retirement, because I see that as our only avenue out for our generation.
Yeah, it may be. I mean, I see their point, though. I mean, one of the things that I keep reading is just there is seemingly unlimited upside to property tax and insurance costs, right? And I mean, a lot of people ripping real estate investors was like, no, you guys, these guys provide a service to the community, because not everybody wants to own a house. They want to be in one of Craig's rentals, and if the water heater goes out, Craig, hey, sorry, man.
And one thing we learned in 2008 is a lot of people shouldn't own houses after we saw what they did to those houses.
Right, shouldn't own houses. I think that there's a debate to be had of these corporate giant mega Wall Street firms buying up all these houses. I'm not convinced that we shouldn't step in and adjust to that. But you guys provide a service, and you're running on thin margins. I mean, that's the thing. Okay, if your average rental's making $200 or $300, now granted, if you're 5 years in now, let's say, right, you're making
get a
more
little
than
more. Yeah, but your taxes and insurance creep up with that.
They creep up, right? But so now maybe you're making $400 or $500 a month or something. But you might have a vacancy. Something might happen. AC unit goes out. There goes your profit for the year, right?
Septic system goes out.
Roof, whatever. Things happen. Somebody trashes your place as they leave.
Yep.
And they're like, Craig, hey, fine, screw you. You can
Yeah.
take your security deposit, $2,000, but I just, caused $12,000 worth of damage to your property.
Right. I cash flowed $3,000. I get $2,000 of their security deposit, and they did $50,000 in damage.
Right. People say, well, just go sue them. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. You're going to go sue
Good
this
luck
guy and
collecting.
collect what? Yeah. Good. Don't even
Now you have
bother.
attorney's fees and not able to collect.
Don't even bother. I mean, it's just like, so yeah, there's plenty of risk. So it is a real conundrum, Craig. It really is.
Yeah, I don't know how our generation is going to do. I thought I was struggling, and I just look at that and I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah, no, you're in good shape for
Good
that.
shape by that comparison, but oh my gosh.
Provided there isn't like some unbelievable crash, right? And real estate values fall by 40 or 50%.
A massive flooding that washes all my stuff down the mountainside.
Well, okay, so think about this. There are investors, because there's a real estate club up in Asheville.
Yeah.
I guarantee you there's investors up there that probably just got obliterated.
Oh, all the Airbnbs we saw?
But let's
how
say
many of those are still standing?
Let's say you own 15 or 20 rental houses up there. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know what they do, right? Unless they, because a lot of those guys, they'll buy these things really cheap, right? They might buy them for 50, 60 grand, put in another 50 or 60 in it. Now it's worth a couple hundred, and now they can rent it. There's a lot of that stuff that goes on up there.
Cycle starts all over again. Now you can buy them super cheap.
Well, you can. Hopefully they got insurance on that for replacement value, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. A topic probably for another night. I was running a little bit late here because I was having just an awesome conversation with my young adult boys at home, 18-year-old and 19-year-old, just talking about the future and what it's going to be for them and how everything is literally changing so fast for that generation. It's not, hey, go get a job out of high school or go to college and get a degree and then go get a job. It's all up in the air. And to me, frankly, it's very exciting time because we're very entrepreneurial. But it's also, when I start thinking more broadly about other people, I get a little scared, Craig.
Yeah.
I'm very nervous for a lot of people.
Mark Moss had a great video on the AI. He says, we have 5 years to get rich.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so I got to click. I got to listen. And I'm going to try to regurgitate this, and I'm going to mess it all up. But he goes through the cycles of the commercial loan cycles, because they're like 5-year, average every 7-year cycle where everything's refied and the money gets recirculated. And we're timing into basically artificial intelligence revolution. So if this thing is bigger than the internet itself, which has potential to be, how do you make money when artificial intelligence can replace your doctor, can really do just about any task? You combine it with robotics. Are there jobs? I mean, do we have universal basic income? He's saying he's not saying the world ends. Right. He's like, we have no idea what this is going to look like in 5 years.
Right.
We know now. Make your move now.
Right. I just watched a couple videos today when I was working out in the yard, listening to stuff, AI related and super fascinating. One of the things, Craig, and I'll send you the video because it goes along with what you and I have been trying to do for most of our adult lives anyway. Going the independent route, right? Not the big working for the big job and all that stuff. And I did that first part of my career, and then it's been a lot harder to be independent, a lot harder, right? You go through the ups and the downs and the successes and failures, and there's no parachute, there's no net, no one's there to catch you.
Yeah, if you have a down day, you're not productive, you don't get paid.
Right. And I think that we're so much further ahead than so many other people with what's about to come.
Oh God.
They just have no idea. So we've been pedaling doing this stuff kind of on our own basically for a couple of decades now. You longer than I have. And because I was in the corporate life for probably 20 years. I don't know if it's quite 20 years. And then made the jump to be an independent entrepreneur, which is not easy to do. Different set of skills, but people are going to have to learn that. They're going to have to learn that.
Well, just, I mean, the speed of change is so rapid. So I'll show you. I don't know if do you recognize this.
Yep. Still a valuable tool, by the way, for some people. They still use them.
Do they?
Yeah, the old timers.
Like me?
Yeah, do their interest rate calculations.
Yep. This was one of my first high-tech purchases in the business.
Yep.
Then after this, it came the Palm Pilot later, right? The cell
That's
phones
right.
and then the Palm Pilot.
Right.
But this, yeah, just how fast things change and you have to adapt.
Yep.
But the more things change, I mean, it's just still the basic function, right? You still have to come up with the mortgage payment. It's just we're having computers do it. Now we'll have artificial intelligence run it for us, so maybe we don't have to do the input.
Right.
Right. And then so this kind of stuff too, we were talking about streaming, you know, we were posting these videos. Now it's got the ability just to create our own videos where you just plug in the script or basically I'll write and do your voiceover. It's like, oh my gosh, we're going to be watching content created by machines now.
Right. There's there's an email service that I saw, like, you know, I subscribe to Loom, right?
Yeah.
LOOM, and I create little videos and I send them off to people. But you can do that at scale. So like you could upload, you know, I don't know if there's a limitation on it, but let's say you had an email list of 500 people and you wanted to broadcast a personal message to 500 people. They teach you how you do, you know, it's like, I don't know if you were ever a singer, but you know, when you didn't know the words to the song, you would say watermelon, and it just kind of, they can just kind of, no one really knows what you're saying. And so if you say watermelon, so they do something like that. And so you record yourself doing that. You record your main video, and then at the beginning is how you record that. And they go right over that and they say, so in the email it goes out, it's like, Dear Craig, Dear Sally, Dear John, Dear Fred, Dear Antonio.
So right? I would record and I'd say, Dear Watermelon.
Yeah,
and then it would take wherever watermelon is, input this field.
The AI will change it, right? So it will be Dear Craig, and you won't know, right? You think, dang, this guy just sent me his personal email, and you just did it to 500 people, your whole list.
Wow.
Right? Now you pay for that, right? It's probably $50 a month or whatever, but
right.
For people doing that kind of marketing, you know, yeah, it's coming. So I mean, think about us. If we do this enough, you know, do we just like load this into ChatGPT and say, hey,
do our next show, we're going to be down in Cancun.
Yeah, for our next show, we're going to be in Cancun. And can you talk about luxury investments in the Bahamas? Even though I'm in Greenville and you're still in Minneapolis, that has the whole background. We're not even there. We just say build the script and run the video. I think that's coming. I mean, you know,
what was that Disney cartoon where all the people were on the spaceship and they were all fat and they couldn't move, no bone structure?
It's Wall-E. Wall-E. Oh,
yes, that's where we're headed.
Oh, I love Wall-E. I tried to watch it again just recently because I would joke with my kids how fantastic that is. These people are so overweight and so out of exercise. They haven't exercised forever. They got to float around everywhere and have all the stuff brought to them. I'm like, this is predictive programming. This is where we're going.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And then you go on Twitter and you see the videos of the, you know, the grit is kind of, I posted a comment on their grit, right? You got these farmers, these, you know, the locals sitting there with their ATVs or tractors, and they're making their way up the mountain road. They're doing the chains, and, you know, I'm like, that's grit. That's just determination. Are we going to have any of that left after all this takes over? I think so. This younger generation, I've got a lot of hope for this younger generation.
Man, I don't really see it in the young people that I know.
Yeah.
They're out there. There's some that are out there. I will say that. There are some that are out there. I think those that have spent too much time in school, maybe not.
Yeah.
You know, and I think
I don't hang around educated people.
The world is going to get to be a lot harder. Yeah, world's going to be a lot harder place. You know, I just think it is. I know there's people out there, oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. It's like, this is not the 1980s when I got out of school and it was pretty easy to go get a white collar job. There's lots of those. It's not that way anymore. You know?
Yeah, I walked into, just before the .com crashed.
Yeah. Well, I've got a son. You know, my 18-year-old. I'm encouraging him to get into commercial real estate. That's a tough business, but
It's a tough
man,
business, but you can do well.
you could do really well. And you know what? While you're young and you don't really need a lot of money,
Hmm.
just kind of fight your way through that for the first 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Um, I haven't figured out. I know in commercial real estate, AI is going to have an impact on marketing, property analysis, all that stuff. Maybe you won't need as many brokers, but commercial real estate, it's kind of like residential real estate. It's a lot of older people that are still in it. It's going to need more younger people. It
Yeah.
just is, you know?
Commercial real estate's going to make a comeback. What was it? 70% of employers thought they would be calling their workforce or calling 70% of their workforce back. Right? Productivity is obviously down. Ken McElroy was saying, well, it's another reason. They're coming up with reasons to lay people off. They got to do layoffs, and this is a way to do it. You know, and I'm going to guess that that's accurate too. But I'm going to guess that company culture gets lost when everyone's working from home and you don't build those relationships.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a bummer for the younger people, by the way. I always thought that when COVID was going on, I thought the young people are getting ripped off on this because, again, the freaking baby boomers
Mm-hmm.
and Gen Xers who have sweet positions in the companies, they don't give a rip. Of course, they're going to work from home.
Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. Collect your 250 grand a year, work from home, be flexible.
Do you know how many stories I heard of people holding two jobs,
I
two
did
different
hear,
companies?
I
It's
heard
like,
lots of that. I heard
how
lots of
the
that as
hell?
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I had to guess, part of the challenge, like in office, right? So even if all these companies start demanding everybody comes back, well, first of all, they don't need everybody.
Yeah.
They just don't. I mean,
Yeah.
if you take the average company that has all these people working white collar jobs, I don't know, you could probably cut 30 or 40% of them. And
Send
not notice
Elon Musk in there and whack it down 80%.
it might be 80. I mean, I might be conservative saying 30 or 40% can go, but I guarantee you 30 to 40%
Well, even with
can go.
AI, I mean, you're going to probably cut that in half.
AI could cut it in half, and it's got to start with the government, right? I mean, the government, you absolutely could cut 80% of the government, not notice it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Forget about it. Most of those people are not working.
Yep.
So, you ever been to the Social Security office, by the way, in the Twin Cities?
No.
Oh my God! That is an eye opener. That is a cultural experience, Craig, that you have got to try at some point. Go down to like Chicago Avenue or something. Some point, walk into the Social Security. Make sure you're packing, but check that out. Be careful where you park your car, by the way. But holy smokes, try to get some help down there. Good luck.
Oh God, it's like the BnB. So did you see Greg and Rob's show?
I did not, but I have to watch it. Were you talking about the MLS stuff again?
Yeah, so Rob was talking that he didn't say the name, but some large broker, someone very reputable, was suggesting that the MLS is already dead and we just don't know it.
Interesting.
So he elaborated a little bit and said the only reason the MLS existed was the cooperative commission agreement.
You and I've talked about that. Yeah,
yep,
totally.
So you remove that and there's no reason to have that at all.
Right.
So now these bigger brokers are just better because they're talking about getting rid of the clear cooperation.
Yep.
So now these big brokers just hold their own listings. Now it's going to operate like the commercial real estate.
Correct.
Zillow disappears because they don't get a feed.
Yeah.
So now if you want to buy a house, you got to go to Coldwell Banker. You got to go to Remax. They're all going to have their own listings. You got to go to each one.
You and I talked about this 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Right. We talked about this is likely where all this is going. And the consumer is not going to benefit one bit from this.
Nope.
The big brokers will, in the end, prevail.
Yes. So it just kind of cracked me up because Greg seems like a really good guy, and he's just kind of like a little in disbelief this could happen.
Right.
And Rob just lets it rip, and this is
right.
Rob just wants to blow it all up.
Other than a data collection spot, what is the purpose now of the MLS? There's no purpose for it, really.
None.
It's zero.
It's an advertising platform, but you can do that more cost effectively elsewhere.
Maybe.
Right? If you're a big broker, like take Edina or Coldwell Banker in Minnesota, they're 30% of the market, each company.
Yeah. So why not? Could you do that? Well, you'd have to get the rights to just like Zillow, right? So now this becomes more of a headache for Zillow, probably, right? Because they were getting the nice automatic data feed right from the MLS, one source in one market. Now they've got
They would have to, yeah.
You got all these big brokers, so you'd have to do a deal with Edina, deal with Caldwell, deal with EXP, deal with Remax franchises, KW franchises.
Yeah.
A lot more complicated.
They have the eyes on their system now, so they can leverage that because they got the traffic.
Yeah.
But they don't have the data. The brokers have the data.
Correct. So let me ask you this. If Zillow went away tomorrow, would there be any slowdown in home sales?
No.
I don't think so either.
None. When you have to buy, you have to buy. When you have to sell, you have to sell. You're going to connect with a broker.
It's just a site to go look at stuff. People would change. They would figure it out. They're like, okay, I gotta go. It's a hassle, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna look at 70% of the market. I might miss 30% of it, but I'm gonna go look at these 5 brokers and see what they got for sale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
maybe AI will be able to scrape data from all the brokers' websites. That might happen.
It might happen.
But then you got some copyright issues.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know, but I think that's the way it's going. I really do. And then it's going to become more challenging if you're a small broker.
Yes.
Right? So,
well, like the commercial world, how many small brokers do you know in the commercial world?
Well, commercial is a little different because they're not doing the volume, right? It's not the transaction activity that you get in residential real estate. So there are so commercial world, actually in the commercial world, it's kind of interesting. We're seeing some breakaway here in the downturn of commercial, people going to smaller brokerages. So the big guys don't quite have the clout. They certainly do in the giant industrial buildings. You're selling 1 million square feet. You're probably with one of the top 4 or 5 firms in the country. Yeah. And those guys still have a big foothold. But there's lots of opportunity for small brokers in commercial. But in the world of residential, I think that's going to change. I think it's going to be harder. And the residential real estate world always was about the entrepreneurial small broker.
Yep.
Go open up your own brokerage. Now it's going to become GM and Ford and Chrysler. It's going to be 4 or 5 brokers.
Yeah, they took a beautiful system and they broke it.
Yeah.
I don't see it going any other direction, but it's going to take a couple of years to get there. Because
so it's going to consolidate.
Yeah.
So I think you'll see consolidation that'll further happen.
Yeah.
I don't know who's buying whom, but
well, Home Services of America.
They could buy everybody.
Yeah.
And that would be an interesting play. Wonder if that would get through. Would Congress even be paying any attention? I don't know.
The DOJ.
They go buy EXP, they buy Compass, they buy Coldwell Banker, they buy Keller Williams.
Well, Coldwell Banker's a franchise, right? Could they buy the main franchise?
I don't know how it will work with Caldwell. I don't think it's 100%. Is it 100% franchise? I don't know if it is.
I don't know.
If they have
there's probably one major franchisee in there, but yeah.
But who knows how all those deals would be done. But there's plenty of other brokerages they could roll up further so that they are indeed the dominant player in real estate, in residential real estate.
Yeah. We'll see where it goes, but I thought that was kind of interesting. So
yeah, definitely.
A lot happening out there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be another busy week.
Yeah,
we'll have some more fun to talk about next weekend, I'm sure.
Sounds good. Yeah, we didn't go last week because of the hurricane, and then I was out of town, so we just postponed it. And
yeah, and I think next week, I think it's gonna be bad for me next week, so maybe we might have to catch it maybe Monday or something if we decide we want to do something. If there's enough stuff going on.
Okay.
I should be on an airplane on Sunday night, so
cool.
All righty.
We'll have a good week, and we'll be in touch.
Sounds good.
Have a good night.
Fun. Bye-bye.